Our next section deals with multiplying whole numbers. I am not going to go over times tables. So if you feel like you need a refresher on times tables, I would just encourage you to print out some flashcards and just practice them. There's a couple problems that are in the book that'll kind of help you work through some of your times tables. So we want to make sure that we have those memorized if we haven't used them in a while. Go ahead and just take some time this week during your homework to quiz yourself and work through your times tables, do some flashcards. So we're not going to be doing that, but I do want to make sure that we know how to work through multiplying multiple digit numbers, okay? So some of the words that you're going to hear that should automatically make you think of multiplication are times, so 3 times 9. What's the product of 3 and 9? So product automatically means multiplication. So when you multiply two numbers, the answer is always called the product, okay? Or the result. Sometimes you might hear the word result. Twice, that just means 2 times. So sometimes you'll hear, what's twice the number of this? That just means 2 times that number. So you'll see that in the book, and then of course multiplied by. So we just want to remember not as many terms to remember as your addition and subtraction operations, but a few terms that when we hear them or see them, we want to think multiplication. All right, so something we want to remember with multiplication is that we don't actually have to have them lined up. I usually like to have them lined up just to make it organized. And in addition and subtraction, you want to do that, but it's not necessary to do it with multiplication, okay? And it doesn't matter what number's on top, and it doesn't matter how you write them out. What you do want to make sure that you do is that the one number on the bottom gets multiplied to each number on top, and that the other number on the bottom gets multiplied to each number on the top. That is the key, okay? So we're kind of distributing each place value on the bottom to each place value on the top. Now something that's nice with tens, hundreds, thousands, your nice even numbers is when you have a bunch of zeros, basically all you're going to do is multiply the number out front by this bottom number. So 1 times 46 is going to be 46. And how many zeros are there? There's 2. So we just add those 2 zeros down here. So say I had 1,000 times 321. So we would just multiply 1 times 321, which is 321, and we would add those 3 zeros after it. So we want to remember our properties of tens, you know, that zero property kind of makes multiplication pretty simple. All right. But what if we have something where there's no zeros involved and we just have to do hardcore multiplication? So remember, in this course, we're not using our calculators. We want to learn how to do this by hand and use our brain, because our brain is our supercomputer, okay? So again, we're going to look at our first place value in our ones, and that's a 2, and we're going to do 2 times 5. So 2 times 5 is 10, and remember, because it's a 2-digit number, we can only put 1 digit there. So we're going to carry the 1. So 1 and 0 is the 10 when you put those 2 digits together. 2 times 4 is 8. And we add whatever's on top. So 2 times 4 is 8 plus 1 is 9. And then we multiply the last set. So 2 times 3 is going to be 6. So one thing that you want to keep in mind when you're multiplying multiple digits is that you need to keep the place value for each place value on the bottom, this bottom number. So right now we started with the ones place, so we went ahead and put our numbers starting with the ones place. But now this number is in the tens place. So when we start multiplying, we need to start in the tens place. So even though these numbers might not be lined up perfectly and organized real nicely, this set down here has to be organized perfectly so that you don't forget what gets added together at the end, okay? So because we're starting in the tens place, a lot of us learned in grade school to go ahead and just put a 0 there. So that way we know, okay, we're starting in the next spot. So now 1 times 5, 1 times 4, 1 times 3, basically 1 times 345 is just 345. So 345. And remember, we want to keep everything lined up here because when we get to this spot, we are adding. So even though we're not adding up here, once we're done multiplying all of that on the top, the next section is when we're adding, and we want to have everything lined up really nicely. So 0 plus 0 is 0. 9 plus 5 is 14. Carry the 1. 4 plus 6 is 10, plus 1 is 11. Carry the 1, and then 3 plus 1 is 4. So 345 times 12 is 4,140. So just a couple things to keep in mind whenever we're multiplying multiple digit numbers. We just want to keep in mind that it doesn't matter what order they're in up here. We just want to make sure that each number on the bottom gets multiplied by each number on top, and that we keep it organized in the second section because this is where we're adding.